Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Wednesday. Happy Hump Day, one and all. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you being along for this edition of 580 Sports Talk on the sports voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com and in living color on our video streaming channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, WIBW News on Facebook. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning into the show today, thanks so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. I am Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuy will be along in a bit. Brendan Dworzinski is off today. We are with you for the next 3 hours with plenty to discuss on 580 Sports Talk today. And a lot of it's going to be about Kansas State basketball because they played last night and they lost again. They're 1-7 in conference play. And to a certain extent, there's nothing new to be said about the thing that it is growing increasingly clear that everybody wants to happen for the Kansas State basketball program. There's nothing new to say about Jerome Tang's job status. The buyout was the same this morning as it was yesterday, as it was the day before that, as it will be for another calendar year plus 3 months. There's nothing new to be said on that front. But in watching the game last night, it was further grist for the mill for the folks who would like to see a new basketball coach in Manhattan. But you want to know who I blame for last night's Kansas State loss, 59-54 to West Virginia? You want to know who I blame? I blame Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I blame James Harden. I blame Luka Doncic. And I blame NBA officials for last night's Kansas State loss. Now I'll explain what I mean when we get into that here in a little bit. In addition to college hoops, we'll talk some NFL football today. Eric Bieniemy spoke with the media today, did a Zoom press conference of his own as the new offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll play some of the greatest hits, what EB had to say about his excitement for his return and what he expects to add to the staff and to the offense upon his return after 3 years at 3 different stops since leaving the Chiefs in the first place. We'll hear from EB a bit in the 5 o'clock hour. Also, you're starting to see lists come out, the top free agents of the upcoming offseason. And you see the same 3 Chiefs come up on everybody's top 50 list. There's a top 40 list that doesn't include one of the 3 class of 2022 Kansas City Chiefs draftees. But you keep seeing the same 3 guys. Brian Cook, Jalen Watson, Leo Chanel. What's the case for keeping each of them individually? Who should be the highest priority for the Chiefs as they approach the offseason? Which of those players, if any, should the Chiefs be prioritizing to try and return to the club? We'll discuss that later on in the show today. It's a Wednesday, so that means Tim Fitzgerald will join us for the Wildcat Wrap-Up presented by Tallgrass Windows and Doors. We'll get Fitz's perspective on last night's K-State loss and everything else surrounding that and all other things going on in the world of Kansas State sports. Tim Fitzgerald at GoPowerCat.com will join us at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. And we'll do all of our typical Wednesday shenanigans on the program. We'll play around a One Gotta Go. We got 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll do another round of What Is Wrong With You. You know the drill. Want to hear from you on the show today? Text line is open. 785-272-9429 is that number. That is 785-272-9429. Can also interact in the live chat on our YouTube stream. As we are live on the air, 3 to 6 Central every day, give or take an hour here and an hour there. And, you know, the hours sometimes they get a little irregular come baseball season, which is 56 days away. But as we're on the air every day from 3 to 6, generally speaking, you can also catch the live stream of our show on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, which, if you've not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, today would be a great day to do that. Go smash that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything but a click, and it makes us feel good to see the number go up. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel, check out the live stream, and check out the live chat. Great way to interact with your fellow listeners throughout the show. Great way to make comments, ask questions, get yourself involved with the program, and grow the 580 Sports Talk community. Check it out. It's a good time. I think everybody in there in the chat would tell you it's a good time on 580 Sports Talk's YouTube channel. I see Vance in the chat today, Andrew in the chat, Paul, Mark H., Ryan is in the chat as well. Ryan requests a Bill Belichick free zone for the next 3 hours. I can't promise that, Ryan, but I do not have a segment set to devote to Bill Belichick discussion, Hall of Fame discussion. We knocked that out most of the way yesterday in headlines. But if you're looking for somebody who's going to pound the table and call Bill Belichick missing the Hall of Fame the greatest miscarriage of justice in the history of sports, you're going to need to look elsewhere for that. And you won't have to look hard. You'll find that somewhere. But you're going to have to look elsewhere for that. But thanks for being here, everybody in the chat. Look forward to hearing from more of you as we go along throughout the program today here on 580 Sports Talk. All right. West Virginia 59, K-State 54 last night at the WVU Coliseum. This was a winnable game for Kansas State. I talked yesterday about wanting to see 40 minutes of competitive basketball from K-State, 40 minutes of guys digging their heels in, playing and competing like they give a damn. I got that last night. In fact, got one of the better defensive performances of the season from Kansas State. West Virginia's no great shakes offensively, and they were fortunate that Trayson Eagle staff, had an off night until the final 3 minutes of the game. But still, you hold a team to 59 in their gym, you did some things well on the defensive end. And K-State led that game by 4 at the under 4 media timeout before it got away late. It wasn't for lack of caring. It wasn't for lack of effort. It wasn't for lack of competitiveness. That message, at the bare minimum, appeared to have been received. K-State covered, after all. They were 7.5-point dogs, lost by 5. Great teams cover. But Kansas State did lose the basketball game. And for me, it is the Oklahoma City Thunder's fault. It is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's fault. I blame James Harden for last night's loss. I blame Luka Doncic for last night's Kansas State basketball loss. And why do I blame those NBA megastars for a college basketball game between two middling to worse Big 12 teams in late January on a Wednesday night? It's because the way they play has made PJ Haggerty think that that's the way he should play. And that, more than anything else, is what cost the Kansas State Wildcats victory last night. Watch an NBA game. And look, I come at this from the perspective of, and I know many of you are not. This is not typically, it's not an NBA state. It's not an NBA market. We're not particularly close. Nearest NBA market is Oklahoma City. That's a 4.5 hour drive. This is not an NBA market, an NBA state. And the many of you I've talked about through the years, a whole lot of you, the majority of listeners, I would say, are not NBA fans. And that's fine. I'm not here to judge or change your mind on that. I like basketball. I like the sport of basketball. I enjoy watching it at every level. From the highest level, the NBA, college. I like watching high school basketball, getting to cover high school basketball. I like the sport. So I like to watch it at any level. And I grew up in an NBA city. Obviously, you guys know that. So I am not the anti-NBA guy. But there is a style of play that is pervasive in the NBA over the last handful of years that I do not like. It is the style that I think is best exemplified by how Shai Gilgeous-Alexander flipped and flopped his way to an MVP last season that should have rightly gone to Nikola Jokic, but that's neither here nor there. It is a style that says the surest way to score is to be fouled and go to the free throw line and shoot 15-footers unguarded while everybody stands around and watches you. And getting to the free throw line has become a preeminent offensive skill in basketball, a prioritized offensive skill, and players will go into the lane out of control or into multiple defenders and do nothing but try to get fouled. Not try to score, not look to pass out of trouble. They are trying to get fouled. That is the goal and the aim of offensive possession after offensive possession. SGA is the worst defender, but James Harden really was first. He played for those teams that were general manager. The general manager of those teams was Daryl Morey, right? If you follow the NBA, you know the name Daryl Morey, currently a GM of the Rockets, was the GM of the process 76ers. And Daryl Morey, big analytics guy. Another point in favor of the analytics have ruined sports crowd. I don't totally subscribe to that theory, as you might guess, but this is a point in that crowd's favor. Daryl Morey, big analytics guy, and supported the idea that if you're not taking a three or a free throw or a layup, you're taking a bad shot. So get as many of those things as you can. And for James Harden, that meant if he couldn't shoot a wide open three, he was going to go try and get fouled. Luka Doncic plays the same way. You try and bait your defender in the air, and you lean into your defender, and you take the contact. And then the shot you take, if it goes in, great. But you're not really trying to make it. You're just throwing up some slop because the goal isn't to make that shot. The goal is to get to the free throw line. And over the years, NBA officials have gotten more and more permissive of this kind of behavior. They have a term for it. I have a term for it. It didn't come up with it organically, but this is the term I prefer to use that I have seen. It's called unethical hoops. Unethical hoops. It's dishonest. It feels like you're trying to rig a numbers game instead of just play basketball. But referees let you do it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander won an MVP and a title on the strength of unethical hoops. So why wouldn't you keep doing it? Well, unethical hoops have made their way to college basketball. PJ Haggerty is far from the only offender here. If you watch enough college basketball, you see that amateur players, and this is just natural, this is what happens, and it's cyclical, and it's just the part of the evolution of the game of basketball. Young players see what the stars on TV are doing and emulate it, add it to their own games. PJ Haggerty from the beginning of the season has been doing something like an SGA impression, trying to draw contact on drives to the hoop, not so much caring sometimes if the ball goes in, just trying to draw that foul, get to the free throw line, and score some points for his team. Last night, that was all he did. That was all PJ Haggerty did in the final minutes of a game where Kansas State up by 4 at the under 3 timeout. They had to score more. 49 was not a winning number. And listen, the problem last night was not PJ Haggerty being ball dominant, because who the hell else is going to score for the Kansas State Wildcats? In that stretch of play after the under 4 media timeout, there were only 2 other players who did anything like an act of trying to score. One of them was C.J. Jones, and he about airballed a three-pointer in the corner. The other was Taj Manning, who they ran a play, little high screen and roll, and Haggerty slipped it to, might have been David Castillo. Castillo was playing on the ball a lot late. Doesn't really matter. The point is, Taj Manning got the ball on a screen and roll and immediately had it taken away from him, because C.J. Jones and Taj Manning are not good offensive players. That's obvious. Those are the only 2 guys who touched the ball with a chance to score in the final 4 minutes other than PJ Haggerty. And what was Haggerty doing? Driving into traffic, and instead of trying to score, trying to get fouled. And Nick Baugh, the color analyst last night on FS1, called it out and said that's exactly what Haggerty is doing. And if you play it straight up and you go straight up and you try to score, then maybe you draw the foul. Because when you're on the road, especially, officials sometimes are going to see through that act. College officials are getting to be more permissive of the flopping, of the exaggerating contact, of the foul baiting. A couple of Iowa State teams a couple of years ago were really good at it. That was TJ Otzelberger, peak of unethical hoops in the Big 12 Conference. They got good players now, so they don't have to do it. Like multiple good players instead of just having two guys who could score. They got a bunch, so they don't have to do it anymore. Kansas State has one guy who can score on the floor in crunch time. And PJ Haggerty's doing everything he can. And it's not his fault that he's being ball dominant. They don't have another choice. They don't. They don't have enough spacing on the floor to create room for him to drive one-on-one because their best three-point shooter is hurt, because their best interior scorer, Kamari McGriff, is hurt. So it is going to be a lot of penetration and drives to nowhere for PJ Haggerty, but they can't end like that. They can't end with the foul baiting. It was egregiously unethical hoops from PJ Haggerty and K-State last night. And it did not get rewarded for two reasons. Number one, the game is on the road. Do you think you're going to get a whistle at WVU Coliseum in a tight game in the final minutes? Ask any team in the Big 12 if they're going to get a whistle in Morgantown. The answer is no. The answer has always been no. And it doesn't matter who you are. You don't get that whistle. And number two, it didn't get rewarded because it shouldn't. Because PJ Haggerty was not going up to try to score. He was going up trying to draw contact that rose to the level of an infraction and failing over and over again. And you know what the cruel irony of it is? The two times Haggerty didn't concern himself with that in the final 3.5 minutes, he scored. He hit that pull-up three, cold-blooded, right with a hand in his face, right after West Virginia had gotten the three from, I think it was Huff, to make it 54-49. Haggerty comes down the court, buries the pull-up three from the left wing. He didn't kick his leg out. He didn't go take the Nestea plunge after that shot. He just went up, played hoops, got a bucket. Then, in the late stages, down 5 again, Haggerty on a drive, gets to the rim and scores. He didn't hunt a foul. He just knew his team needed a bucket, so he went and got a bucket. He went and got the quick 2 in a 5-point game, which you can argue about the wisdom of that, but that was available to him, and he went and he took it. Just playing the game. Sometimes that's good enough. Just go play the game. And again, I've said it over and over, and it hasn't stopped being true. It's really hard for Kansas State to score. It's been hard since Big 12 play started. It has gotten harder because guys like Bashir aren't out there to create space, because guys like McGriff aren't there to finish at the rim. That's a big problem. Those are problems that Kansas State had nothing to do with. Injuries happen. When injury hits an already not very good team, you're going to get results like you got last night. But I could not help but feel as I watched that end game that if PJ Haggerty had just played normal basketball, things might have gone a little different. And like I said, the only other two guys to touch the ball there late, CJ Jones almost airballed a corner three. Taj Manning immediately had the ball stolen from him. So it's not other guys out there who can score. And I understand why PJ Haggerty might be looking around and saying, I don't really trust any of these guys. I got to do it myself. Again, he's 5th in the country in scoring. There are worse plan A's than PJ Haggerty go make it happen. But going and making it happen like that, that was never going to work. And that's why Kansas State lost. Of course, hear Jerome Tang tell it. That game was lost in the offseason when players he thought he was going to have, he ended up not having. 3 of them, apparently. We knew about one of them. We knew about Tyreek Smith. No idea who these 2 other guys are that he was supposed to have, that he didn't get to have because the NCAA has been changing the rules on him. I don't know anything about that. What I do know is this. Even if you're right, time and place. And that wasn't either. Nobody wants to hear excuses right now. You're 1-7 in the conference. Nobody wants to hear the excuses. You're about to be 3 years out of the NCAA tournament. Nobody wants to hear excuses, even if they're true. Okay? Like we differentiate on this program, right, between excuses and reasons. There are 1,000 reasons that you fail, but there are no excuses. Even if there are valid reasons that this team isn't as good as it ought to be, reasons beyond Kansas State's control or Jerome Tang's control that they are not as good as maybe they ought to be. Nobody wants to hear that after you have a 4-point lead at the end of or timeout and you lose. Nobody wants to hear it in that moment. And so it's another infuriating, frustrating, miserable night of Kansas State Wildcat basketball. We'll take a timeout here on 580 Sports Talk. Got a little bit more to say about just the broader trend for the Wildcats that really now is very clearly a 4-year trend, a Jerome Tang era trend. And again, the dialogue that everybody is eager to advance, there's no advancing the dialogue about Jerome Tang's future at Kansas State. There is only one thing to say about it. We'll get to that a little bit later on this hour as well. We'll see what Tim Fitzgerald thinks when we talk to him for Wildcat Wrap-Up coming up at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. We got some Chiefs to get to. We'll hear from Eric Bieniemy later on in the show. We got a great show for you today, and I'm really glad you're here. Stay with us after this timeout. We'll come back with more 580 Sports Talk on this Wednesday. .330 on 580 Sports Talk, first hour of this Wednesday show. So glad you're with us. Text line is open, 785-272-9429. A lively YouTube chat in the opening hour, as per usual. Lots of discussion about the NBA vis-a-vis college hoops regarding the foul baiting, which has really come to college basketball. And regrettably, starting to see it in the high school game, too. Starting to see it. some of the local high school games, the pump fake and the lean in and the slop shot that you're not really trying to make, but you're going to get fouled, so you just take the foul. James Harden was first to do it in the NBA. Trae Young is another one, does it a ton. Obviously, SGA, he doesn't win the MVP last year if he didn't get to the free throw line 20 times a game. And I don't care for it. I do not care for it. Tyler in the YouTube comments says, getting to the line is an art. You don't like free throws? Change the channel. Oh, I have, Tyler. You know how many NBA games I've watched that don't involve the Denver Nuggets this regular season? 0. None. I don't like watching the NBA product very much right now. The exception is the playoffs, when by and large, referees won't call that crap. They'll do it over 82 games, but in the playoffs, no, you got to earn your way to the free throw line for real. The exception being they let SGA get away with it a ton in the Nuggets series last year, at which point I stopped watching the playoffs. Because I hate it. I hate unethical hoops. And I think it is rewarded to an extent in the NBA that I don't like. I still enjoy watching the NBA playoffs, by and large. It's the best basketball in the world. It's the best players in the world. Why wouldn't I? It's a sport I enjoy. Why wouldn't I want to watch it at the highest level? Well, there are certain teams I don't like to watch. Oklahoma City Thunder, I'll never watch them bums on purpose. Why? Why do I want to watch SGA dive all over the place for 48 minutes? That's crap. That's not good. That's not good product. Couple of shouts for LeBron not being a one of the more notorious floppers in League Two. Vance and Andrew on that in the YouTube live chat. LeBron, to me, we're getting off topic, I know. Indulge me for a second more here. LeBron, to me, has always been more egregious about complaining about not getting fouled after he scores. Like every time he lays one up at the rim and scores, he's always wondering why he didn't get the and one. That, to me, is the most egregious stuff that LeBron James does. When he got to his late 30s, he stopped falling down so much, because you get to a point as an NBA player, all that falling down does a number on you. Ask Joel Embiid how all that falling down that he was doing has treated his body. So you got to cut out all that falling down at some point. LeBron James, he got into his late 30s. I think he made the calculation, I got to stop all this falling down. I'm gonna not be able to get up. I'm going to need life alert. In 21 years in the NBA, 23 years now. But yes, there is an element of that, and it's especially bad when you're a guy who's built like a Sherman tank like LeBron is. But anyhow, you see it in college now, and PJ Haggerty doing that cost K-State the game last night. I really feel that way. And we're on year 4 now of the Jerome Tang era, with the thought of there being a year 5 getting more and more distasteful to Kansas State fans. The bottom line with Jerome Tang's teams is that they go as their point guard goes. I still remember year 1, the Elite 8 year, Marquise Noel. I remember the post-game press conference. I don't remember what game it was after. It might have been Oklahoma State. I feel like it was early Oklahoma State. It's a game where Noel threw that alley-oop to Keontae to ice it in the final seconds, or get it to a 3-point lead in the final minute of the game. Incredible play. One of the greatest plays I've ever seen live. And Jerome Tang told a story rooted in scripture about shooting your arrow, using your arrow. That whatever arrow you've got, it's yours to shoot. And him making the calculation based on that reading of scripture that Marquise Noel, flaws and all, warts and all, was his arrow. And that he will go to battle with his arrow night in and night out. And Marquise Noel was not a perfect player. He wasn't very big, so he was a liability on defense. He would occasionally force some long 3-pointers that did not go in, but that team took on his personality and his confidence and his swagger and his toughness, and they went all the way to the Elite 8. And they don't do that without Marquise Noel, an All-American point guard. Arguably the only true point guard that Jerome Tang has had in 4 years at Kansas State. Because year 2, and there are some people who are trying to be fair, maybe trying a little too hard to be fair to Jerome Tang, and doing a little bit of revisionist history on year 2 and saying, yeah, they missed the tournament that year, but they made the NIT and they had the whole Naquan Tomlin thing that kind of took them off track. And maybe they would have been a tournament team that year if Naquan Tomlin could have played. And like, maybe that's true, but the record is the record and the scoreboard is the scoreboard. That team year 2, which right now, like, you'd take that team over what this product is right now. That team had Tyler Perry running the point. Tyler Perry was a competitor. Tyler Perry was an outstanding shooter, but he wasn't a real point guard. And the flaws, the structural flaws of the rest of that team started with, you don't have a real point guard running the show. And led to some of the struggles that team had. They missed the tournament, made the NIT. Year 3, you had Doug McDaniel as the point guard, and that had no chance. He and Jerome Tang butted heads from day one to the point where Jerome Tang was insisting all the way up to the start of conference play that, well, actually, C.J. Jones is our best point guard. C.J. Jones has never been that team's best anything. Can we be real? Like, it was always Doug was the best player, maybe even at times the best player on that team. And he and Jerome Tang butted heads, did not get along, bad vibes, and tanked the whole season. And now this year you have PJ Haggerty, who is, again, came into last night number 5 in the country in scoring. I'll be damned if I'm going to sit here and say PJ Haggerty's a bad basketball player. He is not. He is as good a scorer as has worn that Kansas State uniform. Probably the best natural scorer that has worn that uniform since Michael Beasley. The kid can get some buckets. Here's the problem. Nobody else can. And when you're the bucket getter and there's nobody else to get those buckets, there's not a knockdown three-point shooter to create space. There's not an interior rim runner, big man scorer to alleviate some of the pressure on dribble drives and discourage double teams. When there's not a secondary ball handler and distributing guard, because David Castillo can handle the ball, but he's not a distributing guard. Like, he's a combo guard. He and PJ Haggerty are 2 combo guards, and 2 combo guards playing together, that doesn't really work. It doesn't really work. But you don't have anybody that you can trust to handle the ball, make decisions. You can give Haggerty a possession or 2 off or run him off a screen here and there. That's how you end up with Haggerty having to carry so much of the load that he ends up having to resort to the unethical hoops we saw him resort to last night. And his own frustration, and frankly, it really does not feel like Haggerty has the sort of personality that Marquise Noel has. That I think is the best way I could had, and that I think is the best and maybe the most charitable way I can say it. Like, there's just not that outward desire, outward toughness, outward will to win that you feel like is really inspiring his teammates. I don't see a team that is like, oh man, we are going to we will follow this guy into hell if that's what it takes to win a basketball game. Marquise Noel was that kind of guy. Tyler Perry had a little bit of that to him. That team won a lot of close games. Not enough of them, but they won a lot of close games year 2 under Tang. But this team, this program, seems to go as their point guard goes. And right now, they have a point guard who's a little miscast to the point guard, who's having to do literally everything for that basketball team. And you can't just have one guy. It can't just be one guy. Not in this league. Not in this league. You know, that works in the American. That works in the American. PJ Haggerty's your best player. You go to the NCAA tournament. You win the league. That works in mid-majors. One guy is your load-bearing pillar. Doesn't work in this league. Does not work. K-State keeps finding it out over and over and over and over again. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, there's only one thing left to say about the number everybody knows by heart now, $18.675 million. We'll talk about it next on 580 Sports Talk. 343 on 580 Sports Talk here on WIBW. Text from the 785 regarding PJ Haggerty, who, again, I should note in fairness, played K-State out of that game in the final minutes. He was about the only reason they were in the game in the first place. Had a great second half. Down the stretch, didn't have any other idea other than hopefully I get fouled here, and it didn't work. And it shouldn't have. It shouldn't have. Text from the 785, Haggerty's a dude, but he's not a dog. And that's kind of it at the end of the day. Like, great player. Kansas State, the problems that they have not been about their inability to go into the transfer portal and get, like, highly regarded players. Coleman Hawkins was a guy a lot of people wanted. Doug McDaniel, a lot of people wanted. Tyler Perry, a lot of people wanted him. He player of the year, and they're in that league and led that team to an NIT title. He was moving up to Power 5. A lot of people wanted Tyler Perry. K-State got him. And a lot of people wanted PJ Haggerty. K-State made that happen. Problem isn't recruiting talent, getting dudes. But dudes have to mesh, and dudes have to be wired a certain way to help get a team over the top, help inspire a team, lead a team, especially if they're going to be the point guard. And I just don't think Haggerty's got enough of that in him. It doesn't feel like. I think that's exactly correct. So last night, among many things in the postgame, Jerome Tang said this, and this is quoted from Kellis Robinette and his piece in the Kansas City Star, Wichita Eagle today, recapping the game. This is a quote. As a head coach of this program and the CEO of it, to put together a team and build a program that will be on that level year in, year out, I haven't figured that out yet because they keep changing the rules on me. Once they get the rules set, then I can have a consistent plan. We'll start with where Jerome Tang has a point. Like, they didn't bring Tyreek Smith in last season at the semester assuming that they weren't going to have him in 2025-26. That probably a bigger loss for this team than we realized. Even if he wasn't a great player, he'd at least be a veteran big body who's played a lot of high-level college basketball. They could have used that. You see, like, it's a lot of Taj Manning happening right now. And I don't like to talk bad about Taj Manning because I think he plays harder than any other Wildcat. I think his level of give a damn is extremely high. I don't think he's a Big 12 player. That's not a knock. I think he'd be a really, really good player at a mid-major or lower level. I don't think he's a Big 12 caliber player. And certainly if you're playing him 25, 30 minutes a night, that's a problem. That's part of why you're not good. And it had nothing to do with Taj Manning as a person or his effort or his desire. He's a very endearing player, a very likable player. But you can say that and also acknowledge that he's probably not a Big 12 player. But anyway, this idea that I haven't figured out how to put together a team and build a year in, year out successful program because they keep changing the rules on you. Even if that's right, even if it is accurate to say that building a team in the portal era is a crapshoot to the extent that even Hall of Fame coaches and blue blood programs get it wrong. You've seen what's happened to Scott Drew and Baylor this year. They stink by their standards. They're really bad. Scott Drew went to the portal, brought in a bunch of players. They lost Rob Wright, who was going to be their guy. They lost him to BYU late in the portal. And they brought in a bunch of guys, and they have dealt with injuries, but they don't have like enough really good players. And Baylor's not good, and they look like they're not going to be an NCAA tournament team. That's Scott Drew. That's a Hall of Fame national championship winning coach. Misfired in the portal. Kentucky. Mark Pope might be out of there in year 2 at Kentucky. They're sick of him already. You go to social media, you go to the message boards, they're ready for him to be out of there at Kentucky because they misfired in a big way. And they're another team, dealt with some injuries. Jalen Lowe's out. That's a big deal. But they also screwed up in the transfer portal, misevaluated some guys, put together a team that doesn't really work. That's Kentucky. A little bit more NIL, a little bit more investment into that program than even at Kansas State. And they screwed it up. So, yes, we will grant that it is not easy to throw bullseyes in the portal year in, year out, to roll sevens. Doesn't always happen. It happened for Jerome Tang in year one. It has not happened in year two and year three and year four. It emphatically has not happened here in year four. But nobody wants to hear about how hard the job is when you're sitting at 1-7 in the Big 12. Nobody wants to hear how hard the job is when you're making so much money to do it that if Kansas State wants you to not do it anymore, they're going to have to give you damn near $19 million. So nobody wants to hear that anymore. And you get to the point where you're saying stuff like that in a post-game press conference after a mid-season loss. We're not even to the middle of the Big 12 schedule yet. We're just about there. A mid-season conference loss, and you're talking about, man, there's 3 guys we should have, and we don't, and that hurt us. And I can't figure out the rules, and I really feel like once I get the rules figured out, we'll be able to build a better team. When you start saying stuff like that, you are in defense mode as a coach, and you don't get defensive unless you know you need to be defensive. Unless you can hear the wolves at the door. Which is why I don't think there's anything to add, anything that is novel to say about Jerome Tang's job status. Will there be a year 5? I can sit here right now and tell you I don't know. It's not trending in that direction, but I don't know. $18.675 million is a lot. Kansas State doesn't have it coming out of the ears, right? Like there's always money in the banana stand, but that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to make a coach go away. And it's so much money that it probably makes it really hard to pay that money out of one hand and then in the other have enough left over to get the kind of coach you're going to want to replace a Jerome Tang. You think you're going to be able to pay a guy like St. Louis's Josh Schertz, who's going to be, I think, the name on the market after this season? You think you're going to have enough money to make a serious offer for him if you got to pay Jerome Tang $18.675 million to go away? I don't. So that's its own set of problems. But at the end of the day, this is true at every major university, Power 5, mid-major, Power 4 in football, Power 5 in basketball, because I count the Big East. Mid-major, small school, whatever it is. Any decision that is made on that level regarding hiring and firing, if they want to, they will. It is just that simple. If Kansas State wants to come up with the buyout money, they will. If they don't, then they won't. I realize how unsatisfying that probably sounds, but this is the truth. This is the truth about every hiring and every firing everywhere. That's going to cost money. That's going to do something either good or bad for your PR. If you want to do it, you do it. And you worry about the consequences later. Financial consequences, PR consequences, whatever they might be. If you want it done, you do it. You want to hire a coach with a history of scandal like Hugh Freeze getting hired at Auburn that time? If you want to do it, you do it. And you worry about the fallout later. So if Kansas State wants to fire Jerome Tang, they will. $18.675 million or no $18.675 million. I mean, they have to have it to pay out the buyout. That's how the buyout works. But you know what I mean. Irrespective of the money, irrespective whether it costs that or whether it costs $1.50. If they want to do it, they'll do it. If they want to do it, they'll do it. And Jerome Tang's comments post-game are starting to sound to me like a coach who's starting to feel like his days might be numbered. Because I remember who used to get really defensive in his post-game press conferences. I remember when Bruce Weber started getting super defensive about stuff like the play hard chart and about all the cheating that he felt like was going on in college basketball. That was toward the end. Text from 913 says Jack Hartman's rolling over in his grave. Good luck in the portal next season. It's a different sport. And there's no guarantee that the next guy's going to get it right any more often than Jerome Tang has gotten it right in the transfer portal either. They're just, whether this is it for Tang or whether he gets one more year, 2 more years, however many years. There's no guarantee the next guy's going to be able to get it right at a higher level. It is a crapshoot. If it can be a crapshoot at Kentucky, why wouldn't it be a crapshoot at Kansas State? We'll take one more timeout. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this 3 o'clock hour. 580 Sports Talk. Set the table for hour 4 when we'll talk some more Cats and we'll talk a little Chiefs as well. Couple more thoughts from the listeners as we wrap up this opening hour, 580 Sports Talk. Vance in the YouTube comment says, I predict K-State only ends up with 4 conference wins. I looked at the schedule during the break. I do not see 3 more games against Utah. So I'm struggling to see where those 4 are going to come from. Now, in all seriousness, Vance, yeah, 4 is kind of on the high end, I think, of realism right now, given everything. It's not just that they don't have enough good players. It's how banged up they are, and there's no real timetable for Abdi Bashir's return. I have no idea if Kamari McGriff is going to come back or when. But yeah, it's grim. It's pretty grim. John in the YouTube comments, a good thought here. I think KU State and KU are both much different teams these last 3 years. And what I'm accustomed to, both used to have a core of local role-playing culture kids. We've talked about him with CJ Moore, who knows the young man. And then on Saturday, he put up 46 against Purdue. Keaton Wagler came out of Shawnee Mission Northwest. And I'm not sure KU or K-State was ever seriously considering him. Jerome Tang went heavy after A.J. Dybansa, even though that was never going to happen. And they tried to recruit Darren Peterson. That was never going to happen. Keaton Wagler's in your backyard. Imagine him in a Kansas State uniform this year. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be a little bit more enjoyable than the PJ Haggerty experience? Yeah, I think, and that's a broader discussion for another time, but I do think that Kansas State has gotten away a little bit from an identity that served it well over the years. We'll take a break. When we come back, which Chiefs free agent should be the highest priority? And we'll talk to Tim Fitzgerald to GoPowerCat.com at the 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on this Wednesday afternoon. Dan Lucero and Spencer Dupuis with you for the next 2 hours here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. Thanks for being here on this Wednesday. This hour, we'll have our Wildcat Wrap-Up presented by Tallgrass Windows and Doors with the great Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com. Fitz will join us at the bottom of this hour. We'll get his perspective on K-State's loss to West Virginia last night, where the Wildcats stand, and get his thoughts. I'm sure he has some interesting thoughts on the current K-State women's basketball team controversy with Tess Heel being held out of competition because she signed a pro contract for after her college career, while there are dudes who were playing in the G League 2 weeks ago that are suiting up in the SEC in men's basketball. I'll bet Fitz has a take. I'll bet he's got a take on that. So we'll get his thoughts on that and everything else K-State. That's coming up at the bottom of this hour. Also going to get to some Chiefs this hour, starting to see the top NFL free agent lists come out. Because, again, for every team but two, the offseason is underway. Those two teams, of course, being the Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. They're in the Super Bowl, Spencer. Can you believe that? Isn't that something?
Such something.
Isn't that amazing? The Seattle freaking Seahawks, of all teams, my favorite. They're in the Super Bowl. That's unbelievable. Anyway, for everybody else, including the Kansas City Chiefs, it's the offseason. So you're starting to see those top 40, top 50 free agent lists come out. It's interesting how differently they value the top 3 big free agents for the Chiefs. Of course, I'm talking about Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, and Gardner Minshew. I'm not talking about those 3 at all. I'm talking about Brian Cook, Leo Chanel, and Jalen Watson. It's interesting to see how they are differently valued by different evaluators, different list makers, if you will. So who should be the top priority? Should any of them be a priority? Should all of them be a priority for the Chiefs? And again, when we talk about the Chiefs this offseason, we are operating under the assumption, even though right now they have like $8.63 available to the salary cap, maybe even less. We are
probably less.
It might be less. We are operating under the assumption that, like many other teams before them, they will make cuts, have restructures, and they will get to a point.
Jawan Taylor.
Yeah, Jawan Taylor. He's probably already Zillowing.
Yeah.
If he bought and didn't rent, he probably got a place on Zillow right now.
Can I take you down a quite small rabbit hole? It'll detour us for like 1 minute.
All right. I'll trust you.
The years 2005, 2013, and 2025. Do you have any idea what those mean in this segment?
05, 13, and 20. Seahawks made the Super Bowl in all 3 of those years. Is that not what you were referring to?
Partially. Do you know what also happened in those years?
I don't.
That also happened to be every time in the 21st century that the Catholic Church has elected a new pope.
Oh, yes. I did know this. Every time they elect a pope. I saw that, and that got me thinking about like a slapstick sports comedy. You know the movie Celtic Pride?
Yeah.
Where Dan Aykroyd and who's the other guy? Is it Daniel Stern? The other guy in the movie, whoever it is, the other comedian. They kidnap the Jazz star player before Game 7 of the NBA Finals so that the Celtics can win. Like, I had an idea for like a send up, like a slapstick sports comedy where a fan is like, "Man, we haven't won a title in 40 years. Last time we did, they elected a pope. I have to kill the pope."
Well,
it's a little dark. It's a lot dark, actually.
Pope Leo's pretty young.
Yeah, Pope Leo's on the young side for a pope, so it could be a while, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
It could be a while before I see this.
I saw a video of that on social media last night, and I was like, oh my God, this is so funny. I have to bring it up on the show.
Yeah, that's a pretty wild
That
stat.
was a quick little detour
anyway,
from the show.
Anyway, so we'll talk some Chiefs free agency. We got What Is Wrong With You coming up this hour as well. Later on in the show, we got headlines. We're here from Eric Bieniemy, the new Chiefs offensive coordinator. The same as the old Chiefs offensive coordinator. He's back again after 3 years roaming the wilderness of the Commanders, the UCLA Bruins, and the Bears. And now he's back in Kansas City. He has returned, and he spoke with the media via Zoom earlier today. We'll hear some of what he had to say. We won't play all 16 minutes of the Zoom presser, but we'll play some of the greatest hits from Eric Bieniemy. Of course, you're invited and encouraged to make your voice heard on the show today. Hit us up on the text line. Send us a text, 785-272-9429. You can also jump into the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not yet. All it costs you is a click. Hop on in, subscribe, jump in that live chat if you're watching the program live as we broadcast it live from 3 to 6 Central every day, and interact with your fellow listeners and your hosts and help grow the 580 Sports Talk community. So I've seen now 3 different top X free agent lists. I say top X because 2 of them, ESPN's that came out today, is their top 50. They're essentially postseason top 50 available free agents for the 2026 offseason. The Ringer put out their top 40 a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
Pro Football Focus is ranking all of them.
Whoa.
Yeah. I think Isaiah Pacheco's like 120th.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yes. There are a lot more below him, too. I think they're ranking every single free agent. But anyway, so it's not like straight down the line.
I love that journalism from them.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
Yeah, they're very committed over there at PFF. Anyway, but that's why we say it's not necessarily top 50, but the consensus through those 3 lists that I have perused. I'm sure there are others, but ESPN, Deontay Lee at the Ringer, and PFF, pretty good sources, pretty good, pretty well-regarded football writers. So we'll stick with those 3. The consensus across those lists is that the Chiefs have 3 players in the top 50. We can only guess at the top 50 because the Ringer only ranked 40. They didn't rank Leo Chanel. The Ringer did rank Jalen Watson number 18 on the list of the top available free agents for this offseason. Brian Cook was ranked 40th out of 40, which I thought was really interesting. That's very low relative to the other 2 lists. The list that came out from ESPN today, Jalen Watson was ranked 16th. Brian Cook, I keep calling him Byron Cook. I don't know why. Brian Cook ranking 25th, and Leo Chanel ranking 45th out of 50. Pro Football Focus has Leo Chanel ranked 12th. This is where I note that PFF essentially ranks theirs by PFF grade.
I was going to say.
With positional weighting.
Yeah, I was going to say it probably has to do with their grade on him.
And PFF's grades love Leo Chanel. Love him. So they rank Chanel 12th, the 12th best free agent on the market. They got Brian Cook 19th, and they have Jalen Watson 21st. Here's the case for keeping each of these guys. For Brian Cook, I think it's the easiest case to make because he is the most trusted safety who ended the season on the Chiefs' active roster. More so than Shamari Connor, who has some pretty obvious deficiencies in the role that he was asked to play for the better part of 2025. And more so than Jaden Hicks, and if you don't believe me, don't take my word for it, Steve Spagnuolo flat out told us late in the season that Jaden Hicks didn't play more because Jaden Hicks kept making mistakes. Jaden Hicks kept having busts, missing assignments. He was not in the circle of trust. That's why we saw a lot of Mike Edwards.
And that's not unlike Spags telling us why somebody's not playing.
Right.
Because there's been a lot of players we thought should have played, but come to find out, behind the scenes, it wasn't good.
Right. Yeah, so Spags laid it all out there with regard to Jaden Hicks. So Brian Cook is the guy who is trusted. And by any evaluation you want, he was also the most effective safety for the Chiefs in 2025. The Chiefs also historically have not been shy about giving second contracts to safeties. Even though Tyrann Mathieu and Justin Reed weren't their own players, they were signed as free agents to second contracts. In Mathieu's case, I think it was a third contract. But Reed, it was his second contract in the pros after his rookie contract ran out. So the Chiefs have no compunction about giving a safety a second contract, which is in contrast to how they usually treat cornerbacks, which is why I think it's tougher from the Chiefs' perspective to make the case for Jalen Watson. And now Watson had a terrific year in 2025, and I think he is a well above average. He exists in that area where I don't think he's an all-pro or a Pro Bowler. I don't think he's that kind of player. What does saying a guy's a Pro Bowler even mean in an era where Shadur Sanders is a Pro Bowler? Like, what does that even mean anymore?
I think
it's an old crutch.
I think we need to eradicate that term from NFL verbiage when it comes to saying a guy is great or not.
Yeah,
because that you should only be recognized as a Pro Bowler if you get elected in the first round, because we have all these players that go because other players are one. Either
my solution is
just call them all pros. Use the all pro
or perennial Pro Bowler might be the better way to say it, because any old dude can go to one Pro Bowl. Tyler Huntley, Mitch Trubisky, any old somebody can go to one. But if you're going to a bunch, then I think it matters that Russell Wilson went to a bunch. I think it matters that Travis Kelce's been elected to 11. Like, I think that matters.
I think elected would be the correct term.
Sure. Yeah, that is an operative term there as well, particularly when it comes to quarterbacks. But anyway, neither here nor there. I don't know that Jalen Watson is quite that level of player.
No,
right? But I also think he is a comfortably above average starter, and that if you are plugging him in as one of your outside cornerbacks, you're not worried about him.
Yeah.
I think he is a good player, and I think that he made the Chiefs defense better this last year. The case for bringing him back is more about how you're going to construct the roster at that position, because Joshua Williams and Najee Johnson are also free agents. Christian Fulton could be a cap cut, could be a cap casualty. Trent McDuffie could be a trade candidate. We started talking about that toward the end of last season, where if the Chiefs wanted to add draft capital and create financial room to add at other places, McDuffie might be a guy that they would look at trading before he gets to his fifth-year option season, and might return, if not a first-round pick, certainly a high day 2 pick. Would you be comfortable with Noel Williams and either a free agent vet or another rookie as your starting outside corners next year? I don't think I would.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be wild about, even given Dave Merritt's track record with developing young corners. I wouldn't really be wild about that. I'd like a little bit of continuity at that position, whatever that ended up looking like. And if that ended up looking like, all right, we're going to trade McDuffie, we're going to, maybe in that scenario they do keep Fulton, but if they keep McDuffie, okay, and then they cut Fulton and Williams isn't back, and maybe Najee Johnson's not really in the plans at corner, he's more of a special teams core guy. If they do bring him back at all, then Watson is your other outside corner, and you go with Watson, McDuffie, and Williams, or Watson, Fulton, and Williams, and you feel a lot better about that combination than you do Williams, question mark, and question mark. So that's the case for retaining Jalen Watson. Leo Chanel's case is a little trickier to make. He's a versatile player. He has a skill set that I don't think is replicated anywhere else on the roster. I think he's the most athletic linebacker that the Chiefs have, but he's also their third linebacker. And how often do you play 3 linebackers? Not real often in today's modern NFL. Typically, you're playing 2. And Chiefs have their 2. They got Nick Bolton, who's not coming off the field, and they got Drew Tranquill, who doesn't come off the field. So is Chanel more of a luxury piece for the Chiefs than he might be for another team? Chanel, to me, strikes me as a guy who is going to get a contract from somebody else, and it's going to be a number that just makes us go, whoa, that's a big number.
That's where I've been, honestly, on him since we kind of shifted our attention to what next year could be like, when Mahomes got injured and the playoff chances were gone 100%. I'm like, well, you're not going to be, there's no way you're going to have Chanel on this team, because he plays such a specific role on this team that he's your third guy, but he could make a jump to be a team's second guy.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs just don't have the money to keep him around to be their third guy.
Yeah, I think that's probably right, that the Chiefs view him as their third linebacker, but he is going to make second linebacker money somewhere else. So it's hard to envision the Chiefs keeping him. I think the argument for keeping him is that he is a really good third linebacker. I think he's probably as good a third linebacker as there is in the NFL. But you don't have infinity money under the cap. How much can you really pay a third linebacker, even one that you trust, even one that you like, even one that you drafted and developed yourself, like him? So, okay, then that's the case against keeping Chanel. The case against keeping Jalen Watson is very simple. Are you going to extend McDuffie or not? You extend McDuffie, I don't think you can afford to keep Watson because he's going to make good money. He's going to make not elite like Sauce Gardner, like Patrick Surtain cornerback money, but he's going to make good money. Cornerbacks make a lot of money, and he's going to make good money. Can you pay a cornerback good money and also near elite money? Because Trent McDuffie is going to get, again, I don't think he's going to get $31 million a year like Sauce Gardner did, but I think he's going to get in that ballpark, in that neighborhood. And I just don't think you can afford to pay two cornerbacks that kind of price. So the case against Watson is, are you going to keep McDuffie or not? That is a real simple calculation. The case against Cook, I think, is the hardest one to make. It's the easiest one to make for, and it's the hardest one to make against, which leads you to a really easy conclusion about which of these guys is most valuable or should be the highest priority free agent. But I guess if you were going to make a case to let Cook walk, Andrew kind of nods at this in the YouTube comments. You think you can replace him either in free agency or in the draft with a player who's as good or better.
Yeah.
Andrew mentions
that's the thought.
Yeah, Andrew mentions Caleb Downs. I don't think that Caleb Downs and Brian Cook are similar players. I think you could re-sign Cook and draft Caleb Downs. I could talk myself into that.
Yeah.
I right now I'm of a lot of different minds, and as we get closer to April, I'm sure I'll come to some sort of final, like, yes, I want the Chiefs to go this direction in the draft. But if they're going to go defense, you could absolutely talk me into the idea that Downs becomes sort of your do-everything safety, maybe your nickel. Like Downs in the Shamari Connor role makes a hell of a lot of sense. You could absolutely sell me on that. So I don't think that you would have to think, if you're the Chiefs, hey, man, we love Caleb Downs. We love his tape. We love what he can do. We're in love with this player. We're going to go get him. And that means we can afford to let Brian Cook walk. Because I think Cook is just a different kind of player, plays a different kind of role in the secondary. And the Chiefs, not shy about giving that second contract to a safety, value a veteran in that role. And Cook just spent his first year kind of being the tie that binds everybody in that secondary. That is, I think, as much value to the Chiefs as like what Nick Bolton does for the Chiefs. It goes beyond the measurables and the statistics, and it's about the communicator and the leadership that they are in that particular level of the defense. So that is kind of my thought. That is, the Chiefs go into free agency, they are going to do the most to keep Cook. Deontay Lee of the Ringer suggests he could get $15 million a year, which is about, it's more than what Justin Reed got in free agency from the Saints. But like $15 million a year is about the going rate for a really good safety. I think Brian Cook is a really good safety. So I am of the mind that he's the guy that they'll look to keep. I think if McDuffie gets a high-end extension, Watson walks. And I think Chanel is going to be one of those guys that the Chiefs say, hey, we would love to have you back. I think they would. I think they'd take him back as linebacker 3, but I think he's going to get an offer too good to refuse and end up going and being a linebacker who's on the field more often, whether he plays in a nickel package, teams run a nickel base. That would maybe make more sense for him to hold out for something along those lines. So that's sort of my early read on the subject. You kind of in the same mind that Cook is and maybe should be the guy that the Chiefs approach first of this internal free agent class?
Yeah, I think that you've got to set yourself markers of who me playing GM hat here.
Sure. You're Brett Veach, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of who we can internally keep, while all knowing that they fill a position on our roster that we still can put that number to. because we have so many players on our roster. We can put this number here, then that's the guy. And I think Cook is the guy right now because, unfortunately, Chanel not going to be that guy.
We'll take a time out here on 580 Sports Talk. Tim Fitzgerald's going to join us about 10 minutes or so for our Wildcat Wrap-Up presented by Tallgrass Windows and Doors. But before we get there, we got a round of What Is Wrong With You? That's next here on 580 WIBW. So what is wrong with you time on 580 Sports Talk? We got two news stories competing today to try and take down our current weekly winner, the fake Pakistani Pizza Hut. The guy, a government official, the defense minister of the nation of Pakistan, who opened an unauthorized Pizza Hut. And there are authorized Pizza Huts in Pakistan. There are 16 of them, in fact. And Pizza Hut Pakistan got out in front of this and said, nah, that's a fake Pizza Hut. That is not the real deal. That is not the genuine article. He's out here trying to out Pizza the Hut, and we are not going to allow him to do that in our name.
With his mighty Manhattan pizza.
It's meat enjoyers. Can I get 12-inch meat enjoyers, please? With skinny crust. Anyway, they fake Pakistani Pizza Hut is our current winner. What is wrong with you? Sometimes the best stories are the one that just have the hook like right away. Like, oh, a fake Pakistani Pizza Hut? Like that sentence in and of itself is funny. And the story, wait a minute, it's the defense minister of the country who opened the fake Pizza Hut? That's wild. Anyway, what have you got today, Spencer? How about you go first? We got two Florida stories today.
Yeah, Florida man was sentenced to 4 years in prison after he jumped through a Taco Bell drive-through window while shirtless and robbed workers and customers with a large rock.
Okay.
Key Warren Lee Anderson, 40, was arrested in July after he was captured by Ocala police canine dog who found him behind a dumpster. Anderson entered the restaurant through the drive-through window while clenching a large rock in his hand before demanding money from workers and customers and chasing them all out of the building, police said. The man then fled the fast food establishment, but was quickly tracked down by a canine. According to body cam footage, Anderson was seen behind the dumpster panicking as he held his hands up to surrender while he was apprehended by a canine. It is unclear how much cash he was able to take before running. Unfortunately, he was homeless during the robbery and told police he just needed money. Just hours after he was taken into custody, Anderson was involved in a physical altercation with another incarcerated person. He was charged with armed robbery, battery by a person at a detention center in connection with 2 incidents. He was found guilty on both charges last week and sentenced to 4 years in prison, excluding the time that he had already served in the county jail.
Okay, so it wasn't just the large rock robbery that got him 4 years. It was the assault as well. But he made a run for the border, didn't he? With the rock. Robbing, what you can do with a rock?
I've got a large rock. This is a whole
how large do we think the rock is?
I mean, he had to hold it.
It had to be at least the size of his hand.
But he had to be able to hold it. There's no way this guy's holding a boulder.
Right. It's not something you could crush somebody's head. You got to be able to get close range and swing it, probably.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. Like, if there's only one of him, there are a lot of people in that Taco Bell, depending on the hour. I think they maybe could have fought back a little bit. Anyway, neither here nor there. I wasn't there. It's easy to say, ooh, I would have stopped it. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm Mark Wahlberg being like, yeah, if I'd been on the plane during 9/11, I would have stopped that hijacking. First of all, no, you wouldn't have, Marky Mark. Not even if you'd had a whole funky bunch with you, you would not have. Second of all, why say that? What good does that do? Anyway, neither here nor there. Back to the levity of this next What Is Wrong With You story. We go to Polk County, Florida. We do not hear from Grady Judd in this story.
No.
Didn't get involved in this one. Polk County deputy took a 911 call who said that she needed help. There was a frog under her couch, and she is deathly afraid of frogs. Deputy Rios responded to Apache Lane in Lakeland. I was in Lakeland a couple months ago to help the 911 caller. The caller said she wanted help getting the frog outside and that it was, quote, huge and big. She also said she was afraid of frogs and her anxiety was very high. Well, it wasn't one frog. It was 2. But Deputy Rios was able to remove the huge and big frogs. They both fit in her hand. There's this picture of her posing with the frogs. They're not that huge and big. It's sort of like when I exaggerate when I see a bee. Like, I'm not like deathly anxiety. Like, I have no idea what it would be to be so afraid of like an animal, any animal, that like I would call the police about it. Like,
yeah, I'm not there.
Yeah, but I don't like bees.
I don't like spiders.
Spiders for you? Okay. Yeah, my wife's not a big fan of spiders. I'm okay with like spiders and snakes. Like, I want them dead, but I guess there's probably like a certain size of spider. I would just be like, okay, I guess it's time to move. I'm just going to pack my things and leave my house. The house belongs to the spider now. But no, not frogs. Frogs, to me, harmless little animals. My son can ribbit and jump around like a frog. I'm not worried about frogs. This woman was real worried about the frogs and called the cops. And the deputy just reached under the couch and like, oh, hey, it turns out there were 2 of them. Yeah. That's funny. Anyway, you have a good night. I got these frogs. I have taken care of your frog problem. But that is that story. We got the huge and big frogs, and we got rocking the Taco Bell from the texture to 785. What are we going with today?
I think I'm going with yours.
All right, we're going with the frog.
Yeah, like you can't call 911 over that.
Like, I'm not. Some people have very strange fears. Like, I used to. You ever see those Maury Povich show episodes where they had the people on that had like random fears? Like, there's that one woman. You can find these on YouTube. There's one woman who said she was afraid of cotton balls, and then their whole thing was, well, you have to face your fears. So this person came out from backstage with like a suit made of cotton balls. So it was like a walking cotton ball. And I thought that woman was going to die there on stage. And she was convulsing the whole thing, like really for real scared of cotton balls. So I have no doubt that this woman's fear is real. It's just very funny to call 911 and be like, can you please get these giant frogs out from under my couch? This giant frog out from under my couch. And the woman to say, actually, it's just 2 small frogs. No harm done. Let's open the door. Let them out. They probably don't want to be in your house. Just open the door and let them out. That does not beat, though, fake Pakistani Pizza Hut.
Oh, heck no.
Fake Pakistani Pizza Hut continues as our What Is Wrong With You winner. We got Tim Fitzgerald to GoPowerCat.com joining us after the timeout for the Tallgrass Windows and Doors Wildcat Wrap-Up on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by the great Tim Fitzgerald to GoPowerCat.com for this week's edition of the Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors, who provide high-quality products at affordable prices. You can check out their showrooms in either Wamego or Lawrence or visit them online at tallgrasswindows.com. Excellence without exception. That's Tallgrass Windows and Doors. Fitz, we'll get to last night's K-State loss in a little bit, but I do want to go back to Saturday and a 24-point home loss to Kansas. KU did run it up a little bit at the end, but still in all, that's the worst K-State home loss since the Jim Wooldridge era in the Sunflower Showdown. Just how dispiriting was that in that building? How dispiriting was that for that team? How dispiriting has that been for the supporters of Kansas State basketball to have taken that loss to that team in that fashion, particularly after having won the last three meetings at Bramlage?
Look, I know I'm on here to talk about this stuff, but could we talk about something more uplifting like politics or famine? I mean,
Fitz, the people emphatically do not want us to talk politics. I can tell you that right this second. Emphatically do not want that debate for us. But yeah, no, you're not kidding. It is. It's not real fun times around Kansas State basketball right now.
You know what? I had a little meltdown on our K-State Insiders podcast on Monday that we did live, and I thought maybe it was, out there on the limb. And then I heard everyone else saying the exact same things, including Jerome Tang at the end of last night's game, mentioning he didn't like the way his team let that happen on the court. It was embarrassing, man. And I'm not mad one bit at KU. People are like, ooh, you mad at KU? No. They let you do it. They literally stood by and watched themselves get punked without ever pushing back. As a joke also in the Insiders, pick up a damn chair. It's part of the rivalry.
Right.
Do something.
No stools?
No stools. Pick up something. Do something. Push someone.
Where's James Love when you need him in those white linen pants?
Exactly. You know what? It was a very frustrating, but a great summation of where the fans are at with K-State basketball. I think that was really, for a lot of fans, that was it. They're done. They're done with this coaching staff and what they're trying to do because that happened. And I know Jerome Tang isn't happy, but these are his kids. These are the ones he picked. These are the ones that he's putting on putting on the floor in his coaching. So this is his team, and that's how they represented K-State.
Jerome Tang called out his team's competitiveness after that game. Competitively speaking, they responded last night, probably their best defensive performance of the season in that game at West Virginia. Still not good enough to deliver a win, a 59-54 loss. And it kind of came down to PJ Haggerty trying to do too much, not getting the whistles he was hunting for in the late stages, and there just not being any other offensive options that are trusted out there on the floor. And how does that happen for a Big 12 team where you're looking at it like, yeah, they're dealing with some injuries, but there's no one else who can put the ball in the basket in crunch time?
But first of all, I don't agree with that. I probably would have had Castillo shoot it, even though he wasn't shooting it well. But they thought Haggerty was going to shoot it. Why, at this point in the season, and you could tell Coach Tang climbed up him pretty hard at the end of the game about trying to draw the foul. Like, players don't. They're not out there trying to draw fouls. They're trying to make shots and draw a foul. He had no interest in making the shot. It was all about drawing a foul. And no, unless it's blatant, the officials aren't going to award you like that. Nobody was reaching in on him like Abdi Bashir did in that one game with a silly foul. Nobody did that. Just shoot the ball, man. Another frustrating point of this team is they don't have a dude. We thought they did, but they got a point collector who's really good at collecting points. And that's really what he was interested in. He was interested in some more points, and 3 would have put it over the top. And he likes to do that at the free throw line. Every night with K-State basketball, it seems like a new, fresh thing to complain about.
Tim Fitzgerald is our guest from GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. It's the Tallgrass Windows and Doors Wildcat Wrap-Up here on 580 Sports Talk. After the game, one of the many things that Jerome Tang said was a nod to the thought that this roster didn't come together the way he wanted it to, that there were as many as 3 players that he didn't get to have on this roster that he anticipated being able to have on this roster that he did not for a variety of reasons. We know about Tyreek Smith. We're kind of left to guess at the identity of the other 2 players he's talking about. But to me, it sort of feels like we're starting to get the sort of podium defensiveness that we got towards the end of the Bruce Weber era. Is that an overreaction on my part, or is that what you're starting to sense, that Jerome Tang is starting to get that kind of defensive because he can kind of feel what's coming?
This is a natural course of action here. This is what almost every coaching staff does. They go into excuse mode, defense mode, hostility mode's next, lashing out. And we saw that with Bruce Weber too. And it's going to get interesting here because I don't expect to make a coaching change. He's in a contract that K-State can't afford to buy out. And that's just the reality unless someone steps up and pays it. I don't think it'll be the guys that have been paying the NIL money. I think they're just done with K-State for now. They got burned bad by this. And I know that the NIL money is, unless there's a new source, is pretty much dried up. So this is going to get really interesting to where K-State basketball heads after this.
There is a kernel of truth, of course, more than one kernel, I think, to the idea that it is hard to build a consistently successful roster and a consistently successful program via the transfer portal, especially as heavily as Kansas State has leaned on it. I think you can point to Baylor being pretty bad this year, even though they've got a G leaguer on their team right now. And Scott Drew's team doesn't look like they're going to make the NCAA tournament. That's Scott Drew. He's won a national championship. They're ready to run Mark Pope out of town on a rail at Kentucky because their transfer portal strategy did not work this season. They're done with Mark Pope out there. Some fans are in year 2 for a verifiably excellent coach and a native son of the University of Kentucky. So yes, it's hard. And if it's hard at Kentucky and Baylor, programs that have won national championships, it's going to be hard at Kansas State. It's going to be hard everywhere. Why has it been so hard? If you could pinpoint one thing, why hasn't the roster building congealed? Or is it just not one thing? Is it a different thing every go-around that has made it not work for Jerome Tang following year one?
The staff decided it was all in on the portal and not recruiting. And this is the result. You can't reinvent your roster every year. You can't reinvent your locker room every year. You have to have more players carrying over. They're starting from scratch with the exception of a couple dudes. Every year they're starting over. And for all the guys that don't come back, that they don't want to come back, I want to remind everyone of something. Those players weren't here by chance. Those players were all handpicked by Jerome Tang and his staff, and they're not good enough. So they boot them out and go back into the portal. If you look at how this team's playing right now and how invested or not invested the players are, I would say that two of the three dudes that are playing the hardest, who seem to have the most investment and success, are David Castillo and Taj Manning, the only two recruits, the actual high school recruits on this team. The ones that came here and have stayed here because they like Kansas State, particularly Taj Manning. He hasn't had much of a chance to play. Now, Taj isn't going to win any All-American awards. And let's keep in mind that Jerome Tang sat at the podium 2 years ago and said he was a future All-Big 12 player. Nobody's looking at Taj Manning as that level of player. But he's invested in success. He plays hard. He does a lot of little things. Does he make mistakes? Yeah, they make mistakes, but they care. And I think the third guy is probably Buca. The big guy from Italy seems to be playing as hard as you can at that mass. He's a big dude, and he's getting up and down the court. Those are the guys that are most invested. And I think it's pretty clear that trying to keep those guys intact is more important than going out to find the next great answer. Let's be honest. Replacing Day-Day Ames with C.J. Jones was folly, was idiotic. And I don't know how much Day-Day was asking, but I think it was a lot less than what C.J. was paid to come. And that is always looking over the horizon, because what you have isn't good enough, because you have to develop it. He's literally trying to go find players that someone else had to develop. And it ain't working. It's clear it's not working. And it's not working at Kentucky. You can't constantly remake your team this way.
When you talk about players who were recruited to come to Kansas State out of high school, and I think you're exactly right about Castillo and Manning. Those guys are invested. I think Castillo's still a work in progress, but you can see the talent. Manning, to me, is probably not quite a Big 12 talent, but he plays his tail off, and those guys can be useful. He's a little overextended in the role he's having to play right now with all the injuries, and that's not his fault. He plays hard. Kansas State football for years recruited close to home, recruited the state. Kansas State has had success with in-state guys. You don't have to go that far back to find Dean Wade as a success story. I watched Keaton Wagler score 46 for Illinois on Saturday at Purdue, and I don't think K-State knew who that kid was. They sure went after a bunch of other freshmen that are lighting it up elsewhere that they were not really serious players for, but it seems like they invest their time and energy in freshmen like Patrick Ngongba, who didn't come, and A.J. Dibanza, who didn't come, and Darren Peterson, who didn't come, rather than trying to find the guys who are going to come and be foundational pieces. That feels like the big misstep in recruiting to me. Not just that they're skipping out on recruiting high school kids, but that they're not looking in the right places, and they're chasing their tail on guys who are never going to come to Manhattan.
Nailed it. I don't know that I got a better answer than what you just said, because this was something that frustrated me at the end of Bruce Weber. Yeah, K-State would go out and play some team, and some guy would have a great night, and you look at the bio, oh, he's from KCK. Never heard of the guy. They never recruited him. And they never recruited the guy at Illinois. And honestly, I can't remember his name, because I never did. Once we had a story on him, because KU and K-State both ignored him. KU gets great players. They can argue that we could get better. K-State can't argue that. Try recruiting inside out. Don't turn on the TV and there's highlights of some dude you just passed on being a star as a freshman somewhere else. Now, would K-State have gotten him? No, he was going to go play for Brad Underwood in Illinois probably, because they were all over him. But you can't let that happen without a fight. You're picking fights in all the wrong places. You're picking fights with your checkbook instead of with your ability to coach and develop. Because maybe this is just a confession that the only way they're going to win is to go find guys that can do it. And developing a player isn't of their interest. They don't want to do it.
We're joined by Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com. Tim, shifting gears to the women's team here quickly. Kind of knew it was going to be an uphill battle this season with a lot of new players coming in, Terrence Sides being one of the main players returning. But one of the top scorers on the team, Tess Heel, she's been essentially suspended by the NCAA because she wanted to pre-sign a contract to play after the season's over. Is that how you have it?
Yeah, she signed a contract that doesn't go in force until after the season, after her eligibility, and the NCAA declared her ineligible. We literally have D-League players in the Big 12 playing on the men's side. This was my topic for my daily delivery today. And I know that the NCAA went in and enforced a rule, but they did it in a way that is so NCAA. We're not going to do it to a men's program and, make a statement here because we'll lose in court. We're going to pick on a women's program and a senior that, we're just going to rule her out. So we're still in charge. You got to enforce the rules the same between men and women, whether it's you doing it or the courts forcing you to do it. The courts have said these players are eligible. You just ruled her ineligible. K-State's first stop should have been in a courtroom, not appealing it to they should have appealed to the NCAA and told them we're going to court because this is outrageous. It's gross. And you know what? As I said in my daily delivery today, I'm not sure it's not a violation of Title IX because she is being denied an athletic opportunity that men can have. Men in the same situation are allowed to play, and she's not. And in my estimation, as not an attorney, thankfully, that's a Title IX violation based on athletic opportunity. And the NCAA is so ridiculous. So that's today's DD. Tomorrow's about Jerome Tang's post-game comments. It's an interesting world in which I live right now.
Go ahead and subscribe to their YouTube channel, Go Power Cats YouTube channel. Subscribe to ours too, 580 Sports Talk. Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com joining us on the Floating Place Wine and Spirits hotline today for the Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors, who provide high-quality products at affordable prices. You can check out their showrooms in either Wamego or Lawrence, or visit them online at tallgrasswindows.com. Excellence without exception. That's Tallgrass Windows and Doors. Fitz, hopefully a sunnier edition of the Wildcat Wrap-Up next week. We'll do it again next Wednesday.
Thank you, my friends.
That is Tim Fitzgerald. We'll take a time out, come back, put a wrap on this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. 456 on 580 Sports Talk. Our thanks again to Tim Fitzgerald to GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, for joining us for the Wildcat Wrap-Up. Mark B with what I think is an entirely fair evaluation perspective on Jerome Tang. Personally, I like the man, worked hard to get students, faculty, staff, community, and alumni base reinvest in the program and succeeded, but he has failed spectacularly, and it sucks. Yeah, that's like, it's just grim watching them play basketball right now. It's not fun to do, and it's not even just that they're not winning games. It's that they find ways to lose games.
Yeah, like last night I was a little late to the thing because I didn't realize that they had started, and I went up to run and do something, and they were up like 10-2 or something.
Yeah, I got off to a good start. Like,
and I
competitiveness,
was like,
not an issue, unlike the KU game.
And then I went back and did something else and came back down, and I was like, yeah, could have expected this.
4-point lead at the under 4. And that's a big opportunity to go where nobody had won all year and win a road game, and they found a way to lose it. And that's like, you can point to a lot, and we will. We got a lot more basketball left, more than half the Big 12 schedule, unfortunately, where we'll be able to point to the stuff that this is the stuff beyond the recruiting, beyond the NIL, beyond the give a damn, beyond the dog in them or whatever you want to call it. There's just some stuff coaching wise that they don't get right. And it was in evidence last night. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, we'll hear from Eric Bieniemy. We'll do headlines and one got to go on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 3 of 580 Sports Talk on a hump day afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video streaming channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, WIBW News on Facebook. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis hanging out with you for one more hour. Brendan Dworzinski off today. Spencer, it threw me. I walked out of the studio during the break, go refill my water bottle and go do something real quick for this final hour. And it threw me off bad looking outside and seeing how light it was outside. I thought, like, do we still have 2 hours of the show left? I thought it was 4.
Yeah, I mean, I pointed that out the other night when we were leaving. But yeah, it's crazy. I just look. There's a window because an office door is open, and yeah, it looks nice and bright outside.
Yeah, the days are getting a little bit longer, which is nice. I can appreciate that.
I do not like going home and it's dark.
No,
I hate that.
No. I do not. Yeah, you get a little bit of that seasonal affective there when it gets late early. But no, it's nice to have the sun. The sun's still out at 5 o'clock, 5:07 here in the afternoon up on Huntoon Hill here in the capital city of Kansas. We still got plenty more show to give you here in this final hour. No game tonight, so once we're done, enjoy Dave Ramsey. We got K-State women's basketball tomorrow. The Midi Cats taking on the Buffs of Colorado. 6 o'clock pregame start for that. Then on Friday, 580 Preps Game of the Week coverage, the semifinals of this year's Capital City Classic, a girls basketball tournament being hosted by Topeka High this year. Obviously, we just wrapped up the TIT, the boys basketball tournament that takes place in Topeka every year. We got the Capital City Classic, the girls version of that tournament coming up this weekend. And on Friday, we'll have semifinal action. Area teams in the tournament include Highland Park, Seaman, Topeka High, obviously the host team, and Shawnee Heights. So we'll bring you semifinal action on Friday night. Larry Latimer will rejoin me on the broadcast. I think that's what I'm most excited about is that the coach will be back on the call with yours truly coming up on Friday at Topeka High. That is coming up here on 580 WIBW.
You know, not on our airways, but we'll be keeping tabs of a game in 24 hours from now.
24 hours from now.
Yeah, the KU women are at number 12 TCU. It's a 5 o'clock tip.
5 o'clock. Is that for TV?
On the big ESPN.
Oh, big ESPN. I would say that's for TV. Yeah, that's tomorrow. How about that? Yeah, we'll have the K-State women. That's a more conventional 6:30 tip-off for them at Bramlage when they take on the Colorado Buffaloes. So still to come this hour on the show, we got some 580 Sports Talk headlines that we're going to get into. We're going to hear from Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs. He spoke to the media earlier today via Zoom. Spoke for about 16 and a half minutes. We won't play the entirety of it like Andy Reid's press conference on Monday. We'll play the greatest hits. We'll pull out some of the more interesting questions and answers from EB as he addressed the media and his second go-round as the Chiefs' offensive coordinator. So we'll hear from EB in a little bit. We'll play around a One Gotta Go as well this hour. Text line is open. 785-272-9429 is the number. That is 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us in the live chat on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk. If you're watching the show live from 3 to 6 Central every day on our 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel, there's a live chat, and you should say hello. You should interact with your fellow listeners. After all, you've got one thing in common, this show. So you're already friends. That's how it works, right? So hop in the live chat, say hello, interact with your fellow listeners and your hosts, and help grow the 580 Sports Talk community. And if you are not already subscribed to the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel, go on ahead and do it now. Maybe you were worried about doing it earlier today because you were on company time and you're off company time because it's quitting time. Go ahead and subscribe to 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Help us get that number closer to 1,000. We're counting up to 1,000 now. So we're over the 900 hump. We did karaoke last Tuesday. It was a smashing success that no one wants us to ever do again. That's the funny thing about that. Everybody loved it and nobody wants us to do it again. So a bit of a paradox there. But if you missed that, obviously you can catch it on our podcast or on our video archive, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. We got some headlines to get to today. Let's go ahead and jump into those. We will start with this announcement from Kansas Athletics earlier today that the Kansas men's basketball program will join the field for the CBS Sports Classic for the 2026 through 2029 iterations of the event. If you're unfamiliar with the CBS Sports Classic, it is similar in conception to the Champions Classic, where 4 programs take part and they alternate playing each other year over year. I guess I don't actually know who KU is replacing in the tournament. I'm trying to remember who was in it this year, pulling up that schedule right now. Oh, St. John's. St. John's was in it this past season. So they're not going to be in it next year. Kansas has signed a contract to be in the CBS Sports Classic field for the next 4 years, joining North Carolina, Kentucky, and Ohio State. Also, much like the Champions Classic, you have 3 programs that you totally understand being in the event, and then one where you're like, them, really? In the Champions Classic, it's Michigan State. In the CBS Sports Classic field, it's Ohio State.
Yeah.
It's like, what did they do to get? Who let you in? How did you get in here? Kansas, North Carolina, Kentucky, and Ohio State? Really? Anyhow, the 2026 CBS Sports Classic will be held Saturday, December 19th. It's a doubleheader at Madison Square Garden. Kansas will play Ohio State Saturday, December 19th, 2026. In 2027, Kansas will play North Carolina. In 2028, they will play Kentucky. And in 2029, they will play Ohio State again. The Champions Classic will work in conjunction with the CBS Sports Classic to make sure that in 2028, Kansas does not play Kentucky in both events.
I just think this is funny. They have, like, I get you want premier teams, but like half of the field is the same.
Yes, that's true.
And then you interchange one blue blood for another in North Carolina and Duke. And then you interchange one Big Ten team for another in Michigan State and Ohio State.
Yeah, it is. They're very, very similar. And even some of the locations. I think the 2025 CBS Sports Classic was in Atlanta. Not sure where they're going to be for the years after, but we do know that the 2026 version will be in Madison Square Garden, which, of course, is a frequent host of the Champions Classic.
Yeah, this past season.
Yeah. The plus side of this is it's another marquee non-conference game. It's a big deal event to be a part of. It's national TV. You'll play a good team or Ohio State every year in this thing. You'll either play a good team or you'll play Ohio State. And I think that's a positive. I like that Kansas plays a rigorous non-conference schedule and looks to schedule those marquee games, makes the non-conference schedule a lot more fun. The disappointing part of this is that it makes it less likely that we'll ever see Kansas play Kentucky either in Lexington or in Lawrence again. Because they're going to play every 3 years in this thing and play every 3 years at the Champions Classic. Why would they do a home and home in off years? It feels like Kansas plays Kentucky every year. They don't. It's not how it works. But for a while there, it felt like they played every year because they were always the SEC Big 12 Challenge matchup there in the middle of conference season. So that was when you would at least get an on-campus game. Like, I like on-campus games. I like that Kansas, North Carolina had a home and home. I like that KU and UConn have a home and home.
That's great. It's great for everybody involved.
It is. It's great for the students. It's great for the communities, the college towns in question to be able to have a game like that and host an event like that. These kinds of events make it less likely that you'll see that going forward, at least against those kinds of programs. But again, it's good to get a marquee non-conference game or a game against Ohio State.
So
and I'm going to keep throwing that shot at Ohio State the entire time we talk about this thing. They fit even less. At least Michigan State's won a championship. At least they can say, yeah, Champions Classic. Michigan State, we got 2. Does anybody, like, were those in high definition? Who cares? We got 2 championships.
So I'm assuming this particular game, if you're looking at game by game from season to season, it replaces the UConn game from this year?
I don't know that that's a necessarily.
I thought they played. Didn't they play at UConn last year, or am I just totally imagining things?
No, you're not. It was a home and home.
Yes. So I just don't. I wonder if they're going to add another home game with a premier opponent. Is what I'm saying.
Like to think they would. Like to think they could do a home and home with somebody else, and get another home and home on the schedule. I think. Did North Carolina State play in Lawrence yet, or is that a home and home in case they cut the away end of that this year? I guess I don't remember off the top of my head, but no, it's just it's an opportunity again to get into an event where you're going to play either a really good team or Ohio State, and I like that for Kansas. The more Power 4 games you play, better it is for your program. I think it is good for the television product for your fans. I do miss the on campus. It makes it feel like we're never going to see Kentucky, Kansas on campus again. And that part of it is the drag. Anyhow,
they did host NC State last year.
Okay,
for what it's worth.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go. It was the back end of that home and home. I'd already forgotten about that. That was a pretty forgettable game. Anyway, next headline, Spencer.
Yes. First headline for me. We're gonna keep it local. But I don't know that this is a headline. And Brendan and I were talking about this off air.
I was talking with him about this too. I thought this was really funny.
So Adam Schefter posted on social media, across social media today, I guess I should say, because he posts everything multiple places. And it read in quote, "As it turns out, Chiefs quarterback Gardner Minshew did not tear his ACL as initially feared per source. It turned out to be a bone bruise that did not require any surgery. Minshew didn't suffer any long-term damage to the knee, and he already is back to full strength as he prepares to head to free agency." We knew this already. We knew this while the season was still going on.
Yeah, that was the thing about this. So I read the tweet, and my first thought was, oh, well, good for Minshew. He doesn't need surgery. And then I thought, wait a minute. Didn't we?
We knew this.
This isn't new news. Hold on a minute. So why would Adam Schefter post this? Why would Adam Schefter post old news about Gardner Minshew's injury? Well,
there's a good reason.
Who are the people who are Adam Schefter's primary sources for NFL scoops? Agents. Adam Schefter is a mouthpiece for every agent in the National Football League. Every player's agent, every coach's agent, every agent in the league. If they want something out there, they run to Shefty. So clearly, Gardner Minshew's agent. You know who Gardner Minshew's agent is?
I don't
either. I'm wondering if you'd maybe looked it up. No. His agent is Dave Butts.
I've heard that guy's name before.
Yeah, I think he played in the league, actually, Dave Butts, of Sports Stars. Sports Stars is the agency that Dave Butts works for. I wonder if it is the same Dave Butts who played for Washington. He was he on one of the Super Bowl teams for them? He sure was.
Two-time Super Bowl champion.
Two-time Super Bowl champion Dave Butts. I wonder if that is the same guy. I'm looking. No, it's not. That guy is dead.
He's long
dead.
Dead.
That version of Dave Butts has been dead for 3 years.
Unfortunately, he passed away in 2022.
Oh, dear. Just a coincidence then. My apologies to the family of the deceased Dave Butts. Anyway, Dave Butts, Sports Stars, they wanted this out there from Adam Schefter because they want people to know, they want people to be reminded that Gardner Minshew's knee is A-okay. And, oh, by the way, he's heading to free agency. He's looking for work. Now,
because guess what?
Why would he be looking for work? Wouldn't it make a lot of sense for the Chiefs to maybe keep him around after he was there as the backup for one season and they're not going to have Mahomes for the whole offseason program in all likelihood? Wouldn't it be just an easy transition for Minshew to stick around and for the Chiefs to bring him back and have him around to run the offense through all of that? What if they just don't want him?
Sure sounds like the Chiefs have given him said, we're not going to have you back. Sorry. Thank you, but no thanks.
The old Fallout boy. Thanks for the memories.
Yeah. Thanks for that couple drives.
Yeah, thank you for that interception that ended our season and the one drive that you played with an intact knee for us. Thank you for the memories. and we wish you well. I'm sure we talked yesterday about like who out there is a possible next Sam Darnold. I'll bet there are a lot of guys who think they are the next Sam Darnold. I bet Gardner Minshew is one of those guys.
I bet a year ago he thought he was the next Sam. He could something like this could happen, and he got into the lineup. He's like, I can do it. I can be the next Sam Darnold. I can get this team to the playoffs,
mm-hmm.
and then I can go sign a contract. I can get my second coming as a starting quarterback. That's gonna be great.
Yeah, here's the thing. Here's the
pick.
thing about Gardner Minshew. He has never been good.
No.
I know he
was only legend. Like I feel like he's only like a thing because of his stash.
Yes, the mustache has gone a long way towards burnishing Gardner Minshew's reputation. Everybody loves a quirky backup quarterback with a hook. And yes, he was a Pro Bowler. We just talked about one-time Pro Bowlers. Gardner Minshew is a one-time Pro Bowler. He made the Pro Bowl in 2023 with the Colts, who very nearly went to the playoffs with Gardner Minshew, which I think says more about Shane Steichen, we can say in retrospect, than it did about Gardner Minshew. But yeah, I'm sure there's a part of Minshew and his agency thinking, you know what? We get the right opportunity. We could be Sam Darnold. I could be Sam Darnold. And I think that's what that post is all about today. Just a little reminder. A, I think I can be the next Sam Darnold. And B, the Chiefs told me they want me back.
Yeah.
Just a hypothesis. That's not anything we know from anybody in the know in the Chiefs organization or anything like that. Just a hypothesis. But yeah, that I don't think that would be out there if the Chiefs were like gung-ho about bringing Gardner Minshew back and running back the Minshew experience for another year. Next headline here on 580 Sports Talk. It's an NFL coaching vacancy that has been filled. It was very funny to make Brendan guess this because I got the notification while we were talking and I knew he hadn't looked at his phone. So I said, oh, hey, the Browns hired a head coach. Guess. And he made a couple of guesses that were wrong. And I said, hey, he's offensive coordinator. And he said, active offensive coordinator? I said, well, he was in 2025. And he said, he started going through all of the offensive coordinators who've lost jobs. He said, man, I think there's something like 17 vacancies for offensive coordinator. Like with a lot of head coaching vacancies, but even more offensive coordinator turnover.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, then you have these playoff teams just like Broncos just fired their offensive coordinator yesterday. The Jets just decided late to fire their offensive coordinator.
Also yesterday or Monday, and the Seahawks could lose theirs if he's hired as the head coach.
Let go of Cliff Kingsbury.
So there's been a lot of turnover at that spot. One of the offensive coordinators who had a job in 2025 and did not have one yet for 2026, Todd Monken, previously the offensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens. He is the new head coach of the Cleveland Browns. He was previously in Cleveland as their offensive coordinator in 2019 under Freddie Kitchens. That didn't go awesome. His only other head coaching experience was at Southern Miss. 3 years the head coach there back when they were in Conference USA. And to Todd Monken's credit, he took the Golden Eagles from 1-11 in his first season to 9-5 in his third.
What years were those?
What's that?
What years was that?
2013 to 2015.
That was the last before Charles Huff took them to a decent amount of wins. That was
their last good year.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
After his Ole Miss tenure, he was hired by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as their offensive coordinator. He worked under Dirk Cutter in 2016 to 2018. Then he was the OC with the Browns, spent 3 years with Georgia as their offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, was part of the 2 national championship wins at Georgia, then hired by John Harbaugh as his offensive coordinator with Baltimore. Reportedly, Harbaugh wanted to bring him with him to New York. Must not have wanted it that bad. Otherwise, it would have happened.
Maybe he wanted to become a head coach again.
This is a pretty surprising hire. I'm a little surprised.
Did he do all the essays and everything correctly, I guess?
I guess so.
I guess he was the one guy to do it, so they offered him the job.
Another fun fact is that every time I have tried to type his name today, I have accidentally typed Todd Monkey. I've done it every single time. In the rundown, it was Todd Monkey. I just tried to Google him just now, get his Wikipedia up for his resume. Todd Monkey. I keep getting it wrong. I don't know why. The Y and the N are not close on the keyboard. They're 2 whole rows different. But no, I keep calling him Todd Monkey, which is a much funnier name. Honest to goodness, I would respect a coach named Todd Monkey. Like I would get behind that. Like I would follow that guy to hell. Anyway, Todd Monken is your new head coach of the Cleveland Browns. I have no idea if it'll work or not. My lean is no, because it's the Browns. Nothing to do with Todd Monken, just because it's the Browns. And my lean is that nothing for the Browns will ever work because they're the Browns. So we're down to just two teams that need a head coach, the Raiders and the Cardinals.
Sorry.
It is funny. It is funny that it is those two franchises that still need a head coach.
I think this for Monken could have worked a lot better if the situation, if he was going to keep somebody in-house, as this is kind of the extra part of that story. Browns defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz, who led a pretty darn good unit this past season, like the reason the Browns were relevant at all this past season,
or even remotely competitive. Myles Garrett set the sack record.
Yes, was Jim Schwartz's defense, which he's a very good coordinator, not a great head coach.
Yeah, didn't work out great for him as a head coach with Detroit, but he's gone back to being a defensive coordinator and a very well regarded one.
Apparently, the way that he was told in which he did not get the job, but was asked to stay as coordinator, was not how he liked it. And he was visibly upset and packed his stuff and left the facility today, according to multiple reports.
So, yeah, that sounds like a totally understandable reaction to getting passed over for the promotion you want, is to go be at a place where you'll be appreciated. Go work at a place you'll be respected. So whoever gets Jim Schwartz is going to get a hell of a defensive coordinator. I know that much. I think he's really good at his job. The proof is in the pudding. That Browns defense, I mean, you talk about a group that had all the excuse in the world to let go of the rope with all those bums they trotted out of quarterback this year, and they never did. They never let go of the rope. So I think Jim Schwartz really good at his job, and whoever gets him is getting a good defensive coordinator. One more headline to get to here on our 580 Sports Talk headlines. From the world of professional golf, we have a second live golf defector. Patrick Reed announced today that he will be leaving the Saudi Blood Money Bonesaw Golf Tour to rejoin the PGA Tour in late 2026, playing on a past champions exemption with an aim to rejoin and be reinstated to the PGA Tour in 2027. Reed will be eligible to return to the PGA Tour on August 25th, a year after he last competed in a live golf event. He's 29th on the in the official world golf ranking, which makes him eligible for all four major championships. Of course, as a past Masters champion, he won the Masters in 2018. He's always going to be eligible to play at Augusta. So he is going back to the PGA Tour, joining Brooks Koepka, who announced his move from live back to the PGA Tour a couple of weeks ago. So I am really fascinated by this two ways. Number one, if more and more people are going to leave the live golf ship, how much incentive do the Saudis have to keep that thing running? Nobody is watching it. Number one, nobody's watching it. Number two, some of your biggest names are leaving. I think if John Rahm left, they'd maybe fold it.
Yeah.
Like Bryson's not going anywhere because he doesn't care. A, he doesn't care where his money comes from, and B, if he goes anywhere, it's going to be like a full-time YouTuber. Like,
yeah, he's perfect for live and the structure of live.
Yes, being a content creator is what he's about more than being a professional golfer. But honest to God, I think if John Rahm left, they'd pack it in. But for the PGA Tour's sake, like Patrick Reed, interesting guy, complicated guy. He's been accused multiple times. Credibly accused of cheating, including in college. All his college teammates hate him. He won a national championship at West Georgia, I think, because he got kicked off the team at Georgia, basically asked to leave the team because of cheating allegations. And they won a national championship, but none of his teammates there can stand him. His family doesn't talk to him. It's basically just him and his wife and his kids against the world.
So it sounds like Aaron Rodgers and him would be great friends.
There's a little bit of the Aaron Rodgers element to his public persona. But people don't like him. That makes PGA Tour events a little bit more interesting. If there's a guy on the leaderboard who's a guy you root against. Like the PGA Tour lost all those guys. They all went to live.
Yeah.
All the jerks went to live. And now one of them's coming back to the PGA Tour. Not immediately. He was not eligible under the same returning champion program that Brooks Koepka was, but he'll play out the year mostly on the DP World Tour. He'll play in the majors. He'll get a past champions exemption into some events next fall, and he'll apply for reinstatement in 2027. Only 35 years old, so a lot of good competitive golf in front of Patrick Reed, and he's going to play it in the PGA Tour and not on the Saudi Blood Money Bonesaw Tour. That'll do it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We're going to hear from Eric Bieniemy. He spoke with the media earlier today, but also we know one of the voters who did not vote for Bill Belichick to make the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We know one of the voters. He has outed himself publicly. He is a writer for the Kansas City Star. We'll tell you who is next on 580 Sports Talk. Before we get to Eric Bieniemy and the local Hall of Fame voter who did not vote for Bill Belichick to make the Hall of Fame, a round of one got to go here on 580 Sports Talk. I'll let you go first today, Spencer. What you got for one got to go today?
All right. One gotta go. You can't go to work because of snow. Can't go to work because your car doesn't work. Like your car doesn't work, but because your battery died, or you can't do anything. Sorry. You can't go anywhere because there's snow. Can't go because your car doesn't work, or you can't go because you're sick, which is the worst.
Oh, sick. Because then you can't, like, if you can't go to work because your car doesn't work, like, I can putter around the house and enjoy my day off. If you get a snow day, I can putter around the house and enjoy my day off. If I'm sick, I just want to lay around, do nothing.
But if your car's broken down, I feel like that's the worst because now you got to deal with putting money in your car potentially.
That does suck. That does. That's not anybody's idea of a good time. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, that's I don't like being sick. I don't like being sick, which I've been sick a lot more in the last 19 months. Gee, I can't imagine why. Really, not even 19 months. Probably the last like 9 months or 7. Trying to do the math on this. You start sending your child to daycare, and then they come back with all kinds of fun germs and diseases that you're just trying to dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge, and that's it's not the easiest thing in the world. For my one got to go today. Did a segment yesterday on the show talking about the prototypes that are on display in Super Bowl 60. 4 kinds of players that have been extremely influential in the Super Bowl runs for both the Seahawks and the Patriots. Jackson Smith-Njigba as the always open wide receiver. Nicky Manwari as the defense-defining nickel safety. Byron Murphy of the Seahawks is the big man in the middle of your defense. And Christian Gonzalez is a lockdown corner. So those prototypes, the number 1, always open wideout, the queen on the chessboard safety, the plugger in the middle of the defensive line, or the lockdown corner. You could have 3 of those, but you can't have the other. Which one of those to you feels less incidental to your team's success?
Well, you need the big boy plug. As a former 1-year lineman center, you need the big boys up front.
Sure.
You need a plugger. I want to say lockdown wide receiver or lockdown cornerback you don't need, because he could be a lockdown corner just because he had one good season and then they don't throw his way, or he could be so good nobody throws his way and then the next season he just commits penalties because he's not used to anybody throwing his way.
So I think that perspective is interesting. The idea that the lockdown corner only impacts the game, doesn't always impact the game.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they impact the game by them not being thrown at because you take away half the field. But sometimes you're a lockdown corner, you go against a team that doesn't really have a number 1 wide receiver, or that their primary target is their tight end. And they don't have the opportunity to really impact the game because what an offense is doing is sacrificing somebody to the lockdown cornerback, making sure that corner, wherever he's at, unless he's following somebody across the field, like he'll follow the always open number 1 wide receiver on a lot of teams. But sometimes you sacrifice your number 2 wide receiver. You say, all right, yeah, you got your lockdown corner. You're gonna cover Marquez Valdez-Scantling all day. That's your job.
Yeah.
And we're not throwing that dude anyway. So, you're just getting cardio in the entire game. So I think that is the one of these that you can scheme out of the game.
Yeah, I say this just because I remember when Marshawn Lattimore played for the Saints. It's pretty lockdown corner.
Uh-huh.
And the Commanders traded for him. I knew it was going to be as good because he was a little older. He'd just been so bad. But he was a lockdown corner. I remember in the league, people regarded him as a lockdown corner.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what does he do? DPI. When they when he was, people were throwing his way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people just weren't throwing his way in New Orleans. Or it would be like one big catch for Mike Evans or something.
Counter argument from Mark B in the YouTube live chat: if lockdown corner's that good, he keeps the other guy's number 1 wideout off the stat sheet. But there are ways you can get that number 1 wide receiver going. Like if you're creative enough, there's a way you can get him going, even if he's going up against a tough matchup. You can throw him some screens, you can get him the ball on an end around. Like you can do stuff to try and get him involved, but you can ice out. Like, did Patrick Surtain have much impact on? Well, he actually did have impact on the AFC Championship game because they did try to throw deep on him twice, and that was a mistake. But like he didn't have a big impact on the divisional round game against the Bills because the Bills don't have a number 1 wide receiver. So he's just out there covering like Curtis Samuel, and the Bills are like, okay, we're not throwing Curtis Samuel. That's fine. You go cover Curtis Samuel. You have fun with that. But it would either be the lockdown core, or I would argue like the space eater in the middle. That's a really nice piece to have, but I also feel like it's a luxury piece because I think it's still more important to stop the pass and stop the run in the NFL. And if your space eater can't rush the passer, then he's just kind of a luxury piece. But interesting thought experiment there. We'll come back. We'll hear from Eric Bieniemy, and we'll tell you which Hall of Fame voter has outed themselves as one who did not vote for Bill Belichick. Next on 580 Sports Talk. So we know at least 11 of the 50 Hall of Fame voters for the Pro Football Hall of Fame this year did not vote for Bill Belichick. And now we know the identity of one of them. Vahe Gregorian of the Kansas City Star has a column out on their website. Bill Belichick belongs in the Hall of Fame, but here's why I didn't vote for him. It has nothing to do with Spygate or Deflategate. Here's how the voting process works. There's a group of 5 that is the coaching candidate, which this year was Bill Belichick, the contributor candidate, which was Robert Kraft this year, and 3 senior player candidates, which this year were Ken Anderson, Roger Craig, and L.C. Greenwood, all former players, all-time greats. It's not an up or down vote. You only get to vote for 3. And Vahe Gregorian's explanation was that I voted for the 3 senior candidates because I wanted them to be able to either get in or at least stay on the ballot for long enough to be able to get further consideration in future years. Because if those senior players, the senior candidates get on the ballot, they don't get enough support, they never come up again.
Yeah, they're gone. They're done.
Yeah.
Their name's gone.
Right. So Vahe Gregorian decided and probably made a calculation that I'm sure some other voters made. Well, there's no way Belichick doesn't get at least 40 votes. I'm going to vote for these other 3, and I'm going to make sure that they get consideration that they deserve, even though, Belichick certainly deserves it. Instead of it being an up-down vote where you could get more people in, what you have is a process where sometimes you don't get as many people in as you used to in a regular class. And you know whose fault this all is? Deion Sanders. He strenuously argued for a stricter voting process, tried to pull the ladder up behind him. when he got in the Hall of Fame.
I blame the guy that used to run the Hall of Fame.
Oh, everybody in charge of the Hall of Fame is to blame. The Dion
No,
thing
know
is
I'm
me
talking
being
about?
a hater.
The guy that used to do the knocks.
Yeah.
Because David Baker totally screwed up everything in Canton.
Mm-hmm.
I have family that lives up there. My uncle's on the Hall of Fame transportation committee, so he drives around the people when they come up. They were supposed to have this whole like Hall of Fame marketplace kind of thing, and David Baker completely fudged it up screwed this whole thing up, and then he departed. He's no longer a part of the Hall of Fame committee.
So I think people are going to be really hard on Vahe Gregorian for that, but I think
I'm with him.
He used his vote the best way he felt like he could use his vote. And it wasn't personal. It wasn't petty, anti-Bill Belichick at all. It was, he just assumed that there would be 40 votes for Bill Belichick and that his was not needed. And it's a stupid process that would make you have to make that calculation. Anyway, let's hear from Eric Bieniemy. We promised this. Let's deliver some of what Eric Bieniemy had to say to assembled media on Zoom today, the new offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Good afternoon. It's great seeing everybody. I see a lot of familiar faces on here. What's up, Herbie, Nate, Sam? You know, I'm not ignoring anybody else, but those are some familiar faces that I've seen. But first and foremost, I just want to thank the Chicago Bears organization. It was a great run, a great season. Thanking George McCaskey, the president. Here once upon a time. Ted Cruz also. I'd like to send a special shout out to Ryan Poles and the head coach Ben Johnson. You're talking about great people, a great organization, and it felt like home. And that was the beauty of it. It was real tough making this decision, but it was an opportunity to come home, and it was like leaving home. But now, Big Red ever picked up the phone, that's the only person that you'll say, hey, you know what? It may be time to return home because he's giving me this opportunity. But more than anything, it was very, very tough after exactly what we just went through. But more than anything, I'm fired up about this opportunity. I'm looking forward to it. It's time to get back in the saddle. With that said, I'm all ears. Let's hit it.
I just wonder, I got a couple things for you. I wonder, first of all, how much have you had a chance to maybe dig into what the Chiefs offense was last year, and what were your impressions?
You know what? I really haven't had an opportunity to dig in and really study it like I want to. Every now and then I would pick up, a few ideas or a few plays here and there, but I really haven't had a chance to dig in like I want to. I'm going to spend this time doing this period just to figure out the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the indifferent. But I'm excited about the opportunity. Obviously, looking forward to getting back to work with some of these guys, and ideally just getting reacclimated with the staff.
Hello, Eric. Good to see you. I have 2 questions as well.
Yes, sir.
My first is, I'm sure you heard Patrick's comments about wanting new ideas. From your perspective, in the past 3 years, how much do you think those experiences will help you get to maybe presenting new ideas, not only to Patrick, but Andy and the rest of the offensive staff?
I think it's always good because I've had an opportunity to learn a few things and obviously open up my mind just to how to view things from a different point of view. And it's great. But on top of that, we got to make sure that we're getting down to what is best for us when it's all said and done with. So, yes, anybody can present an idea. But more importantly, we need to make sure, first and foremost, that we're taking a look at anything that we need to continue to improve upon or continue working with, and making sure that we're getting all the answers first with that, and then just figure out what do we need to go from there. But it's day one. We'll figure all that out at some point in time. But I will say this, I'm fired up and excited just to have this opportunity to be in the building and just having these discussions.
And secondly, Eric, have you had a chance to talk to Patrick? Have you had a chance to talk to Travis? And just what is your, I guess, initial reactions of getting back and working with them, obviously, for next season?
You know what? I've had just a small minimum conversation with both, and they all have been great. But more than anything, it's just the excitement of just reuniting. It was just like when I came here, we came out here and we played them in the preseason. It was great seeing those guys, because I haven't seen them in years. And so it just feels good just to sit down and have conversations with guys. And to be honest, I have not talked any football or anything. It's just the excitement of just seeing each other, asking how they're doing, and making sure everything is good moving forward. But is the excitement high? Yes. Am I fired up? Yes. Do I respect the hell out of both those guys? Yes. So I'm looking forward to getting back in the grind and chopping wood with them.
Coach, welcome back to Kansas City, man.
How we doing, Herbie? What's happening?
Hey, I'm doing well, thanks. I got two questions here. It's sort of a follow-up to what Nate asked you about offering that creative voice to this offense, but the opportunity to kind of spread your wings over the last few years as an offensive play caller in Washington and UCLA, how do you think that helped develop you to be more of a creative voice on the staff?
You know what? I think it's helped me in a number of ways, because when you're doing it on your own, you got to find creative ways to implement a system. On top of that, you learn a lot about yourself, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because all ideas are not bad ideas. We just need to be receptive to them. And so just the dynamic of working with people, learning how to communicate and articulate in your plan and getting them to buy in, I think all that helps. And I think any experience that you've had, whether it's good or bad, it's all something that we can learn from. And so with that said, I've learned a lot over the years. I've learned a lot about myself, and I'm just excited, just to get started. And obviously today is day one, but I want to make sure day 2, 3, 4, and 5 that we hit the ground running, with all this excitement and all this energy that's being created.
You mentioned hitting the ground running, and this is my last question. Obviously, given your background coaching running backs, how involved do you see yourself as the offensive coordinator with energizing this run game?
Let me just say this. First and foremost, the things that we can do that's going to help us moving forward. So, yes, have I been exposed to a number of run schemes? Yes. All right. At the end of the day, we got to make sure that we're doing what is best for us moving forward. And I think that's just the general overall plan.
So that was Eric Bieniemy speaking earlier today via Zoom. We are overdue for our final timeout. We'll take it. We'll come back with a final word to wrap up this Wednesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up and walking off this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis, give us your final word.
Yeah, final word for me today. It was great hearing Eric Bieniemy take questions from the media and kind of like a reunion there with some of them. And I am ready for OTAs already. I'm ready for him to get on the field as the coach and see some mic'd up footage of him getting after some players. I'm ready for Chiefs football to be back already, and the Super Bowl is still a week and a half away.
Final word for me today. I don't even remember it being this frustrating, this grim at the end of the Bruce Weber years for Kansas State basketball as it feels right now in year 4 under Jerome Tang. I think the biggest part of that is some of the consternation regarding the size of Jerome Tang's buyout and the very real possibility that paying out that $18.675 million is either going to be not possible or so onerous that it ends up hurting what Kansas State basketball can achieve or who they can hire if they do end up paying it out. I am less concerned about that because I have observed enough college sports over the years to know if an athletic department wants something done regarding a hiring or a firing, then it gets done. If Kansas State decides to part company with Jerome Tang, they'll come up with the money, and they'll go from there. If they don't want to fire him, then they won't. It's really that simple. That'll be it for us. We're back tomorrow from 3 until 6. For Spencer, I'm Dan. This is 580 Sports Talk. Good night.